Hey guys.
Eric mentioned 3 communities that have a lot of money in St. Louis.
Nice. David, welcome. Crystal Catalina's just probably letting the dog out really quick. Here comes Big Mike coming in for a great call. Super fired up for today's call, guys. All right, I'm going to start getting going here. I think Crystal's going to be joining back in. Guys, the first thing that I woke up this morning, and I want us to be concentrating on this word. One of the highest forms of energy that you can ever get into is gratitude. Gratitude, you cannot be negative, angry, judgmental when you're in gratitude. So I want us to focus on our breathing today on gratitude today. I have gratitude for you guys showing up to this call. I want you guys to have gratitude to yourselves for waking up today and getting after it on a Monday. It's kind of a cold, rainy day for Eric and I out here in Southern California. So I needed to pull a little gratitude together. So let's do this. Let's just get into a little bit of clearing and centering. And this is what I'm going to be focused on our whiteboard today and our mental whiteboard. We all know what we're here to do. We're here to lead generate. You can call it anything you want. You could say, I'm connecting people to health and wellness. I'm going to be getting into conversations. We're here to lead generate. And I want us to be thinking about our future self in 5 days. On Friday, as the day winds down, during our breathing, I want us to be thinking about what a perfect week is going to look like. What activities, what tasks are you going to line up for yourself? What goals will you have for yourself? So I'm going to go ahead and put my feet firmly on the ground, connect to your knees and to your hips, and really feel that you're connected flat to the earth. I want you to get started, remember, with a nice breath in through the nose and then out through the mouth. And we're going to extend that out breath even longer than the breath in. Let it all out. Again, in through the nose. And out through the mouth. As you continue the deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, I want on the whiteboard, let's start listing what a great week will look like for your authentic self. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. We're here today to all be in our greatness together. And I want you to think about what the week can offer you. What are the next couple of days going to do to make you be in your truly best version of yourself? And I apologize for the phone ringing. That's actually, I'm at my mom's house. She has probably the only landline still in existence. Continue your deep breathing. And I want you to think specifically, what tasks are going to give you the best week possible? How many conversations do you really want to have? How organized do you need to get? Who are people that have not heard from us that need to hear from us again? Who are our raving fans that need to be reached out to? What's the one stop that we haven't made that we need to make just to start a conversation? Who in our phone needs to have a dial from us? Let's go with another deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Do 2 more real deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. one last great breath, bringing in all of your greatness, stimulating your central nervous system, and then out through the mouth. Slowly come back to the call today, and we're going to get into an incredible week, guys. So folks, apologize interrupting the phone there, but that's okay. We're still grounded. Guys, the focus is going to be on having the very best week that we possibly can have. You know, I was working on this call this weekend and having some conversations with people, and I absolutely just got focused in on my own self, on things that I need to work on to be the best lead generator. I'm doing a lot of lead generation right now. Daniel and I are doing a lot of outbound calling, connecting with people. We're doing screening. And it takes a lot of energy, you know, to be lead generating. And it takes a mindset that you really need to have. I identified something that I really want you to write down. The one thing I know I need to do, I need to keep on defeating my ego. And I want to talk to you about what I mean by that. So sometimes we get into the mode, and I do this, and I might be the only one, but I'd love that participation. Sometimes we get into the mode that we know how to do everything just perfectly. We're kind of the master of our own domain. We sometimes say, hey, I don't even need to do anymore because I'm already doing enough. You know, that person didn't want to really talk to me, so let them, you know, forget them. I'm not going to worry about them anymore. I didn't like the way that conversation went. That didn't go my way, so I'm not going to call them again. And you know what that is? That's my ego. That's my ego getting in the way of me actually looking out for my family the best possible way that I can, being the best version of myself that I possibly can. It made me think about a couple of other big egos that have been out there in the world. We all know ego around, if you haven't heard the story of Blockbuster and Netflix, how Netflix felt, are you kidding me? Everyone's going to need come pick up their little VH cassettes or their little discs. There's no way that we would need to have a streaming service. Why would you want to do that? You can buy a little popcorn for $5 a pouch at Netflix, at Blockbuster, and Netflix came to buy them for a ridiculously large amount of money, and then later said they came back and say, hey, are you guys still interested in buying us Netflix? And they're like, no, we don't even need you. You're not even a speed bump to us anymore. The guy that invented BlackBerry kept on saying, no, we don't need interactive technology. This is a business phone. People use their phone for business. Why do you need fun things on your phone? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why would you want to have directions on your phone? That seems dangerous and scary. Why would you want to have games? Well, they got iPhoned and they had ego. And so they didn't keep on recreating that thought process of how to be a better version of themselves. So I want to take us through two things that we're going to do today. If you've never heard of Adam Grant, he's a professor at Wharton School of Business in Pennsylvania, an incredible author. And he has a book that I had read that is really, really good. It's called Think Again. And what he talks about is our ego getting in the way when we need to do something. And I want to see if you can identify with these four things that I'm going to want you to write these down and think about these this week. I know I need to always check myself, guys. I am a work in progress. I am constantly looking to be a better version of myself. But Adam outlines a couple of thought processes that we get into, and it's around ego. He said you can have the preacher mindset, okay? A preacher, where what we do is we are always convinced that we are right, and we are trying to persuade others just to believe our way. We are adamant in the belief system that what we are saying is right, and we want others to come on board and be our way. So we preach to people. I've had my kids tell me this. and I'm like, am I? And maybe I am. Just saying, hey, look, it's my way, and I want you to come along. So that's one ego thought process that we can get into. The second one is the prosecutor. And we got to be so careful about the prosecutor in sales. The prosecutor mindset is we are in full prosecutor mode, and we're trying to prove someone else wrong. Boy, have I been there before. We're trying to prove someone else wrong. We're literally in their face, like, no, I get what you're saying, but you're wrong. So you're going to need to listen to what I'm saying. And that's just the way that it goes. Like that, you're just full on in attack mode. Hey, coming up on tomorrow, you're going to love number 3, the mindset of a politician. When we're in politician mode, we're just trying to win approval from our audience. We'll say just about anything to get approval from the audience. We might even, bend a little one way, bend a little another way. That's not really what we want to do. But what we're really wanting to do is get approval. We want to get a lot of yeses. And yeah, I like that idea. So there's 3 real ego-based, and there's nothing, I'm not getting political, we're not getting religious. We're just using these as identifiers from the book. There's 3 real ego ways to think about things. Are you sometimes a preacher where you're just basically saying, hey, look it, I hear you, but my way's right. I hear you, and you better fall in line because my way's right. And are you losing a sale because of that, or a conversation because of that? Are you telling people that they're wrong and that you're right? And we do that when we say, oh, Crystal, you just don't have the right information. You just don't know what's really going on these days. And now I've just told her that she's wrong. And that's not going to make Crystal want to get into my world. Or are we being a politician where all we do is want to just please people? So these are 3 things that we got to watch out for, because sometimes our ego takes over. And this happens to me sometimes. If I'm doing a lot of calls, a lot of lead generation, and you get a little burned out, takes one bad call and it puts you on the sidelines for a little bit. Put you on the sidelines. And you're like, you know what? Hey, maybe it's a good time to take that dog on another walk. Maybe it's a good time to go and, you got to take a little break. And then you start playing the story in your head. That person wasn't listening to me. That person doesn't know what's right. What I want to indulge a conversation is the 4th mindset that we want to be in. And that's the scientific mindset of lead generation. The scientific mindset, as Adam Grant states, favors humility over pride. You know what, Crystal? You just made an incredible point that I never thought about. Thank you for bringing that up. I have to say that to her all the time because she's so brilliant, and she just says things that just make me feel so thankful to have her in my world. It also favors curiosity over conviction. So if somebody comes up and says, well, this is the way we do it at XYZ Gym, this is the way that we do things, you could say, wow, you know what? I've never seen that before. Tell me more. Tell me more. Interesting. Instead of going on the defensive and starting to preach, prosecute, or politicize a conversation, the scientific is more focused on other people, on why we might be wrong on our approach, and not that other people are wrong. We don't have to be right. See, when we come in with a scientific approach and David Henry goes walking onto a pickleball court and somebody's over there selling some crazy sports drink or something like that, hey, they might have something we could learn from. They might make a point that's like, hey, you know what? That is a really good point. I didn't even know about that. In fact, you know what? I maybe should be doing some things like they're doing, even though they're my competition. And maybe they're not competition. Maybe they just haven't had the right conversations. So I want you to think about these 4, we're going to share here in just a second, these 4 states, the preacher, the prosecutor, the politician, and the scientist. And I want us to just really get real with ourselves if we can. I'm literally being totally transparent with you guys. I do this all the time. Like I'll find myself getting like, when I'm lead generating and people aren't coming my way, then I'll flip into well, let's just become a politician and make everybody happy. Let's just become a prosecutor and just let them know that they're wrong for not listening to me. And then we'll just let everyone know that, by the way, my thought process is the only way to go. And if you're not in line with me, we're probably not going to ever work together. So let's have a little time to share. Does this ring home with anybody when we're talking about conversations? Is it just me? Am I the only one on the planet that has issues with their conversations sometimes? Okay. Somebody give me an example of where you've turned into a preacher, a prosecutor, a politician, or a scientist.
I can go.
All right, David Henry, here we go, buddy.
I mean, I think it's kind of situational. I think I've been preacher, I think I've been politician, and I think I've been scientific. I rarely am prosecutor mindset. That's just not my personality, not my style whatsoever. But preacher is probably a lot more with people that I'm much more closer to. So I feel like I can pretty much preach to them. Which not that that's the right approach, but I think I feel like I can sometimes. Politician is I'm getting better with this as I get older, where I don't care as much, but I've been a people pleaser my entire life, so I've definitely found myself going into politician mode, kind of just really retreating and backing down, and then just trying to smooth everything out and get approval. And then there have been times where I've been on my game and I've been, in the scientific mode, and there's no doubt that approach works the best.
No, that's awesome, David. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Does anyone else have something like where they've been in one mode and then maybe had to switch out of another one, or we've turned a conversation around? I know that I've been preached to, prosecuted to, politicized to, and I've had people that have been scientific with me.
Yeah, I had a conversation this weekend. I was talking with someone about the protein, and they were really interested, but they were like, I'd love to see what you think about this product. So they pulled out something in their bag. I was at like a group event at an Airbnb, and it was like a capsule of aminos. And I was like, okay, while our protein has the aminos in it. And she's like, yeah, but she was like, with this amino, it's calorie free. I'm getting my protein without calories. And so I kind of turned into a politician. I was like, oh, okay, well, I kind of see where you're going with that. And she's like, I was like, I really just want to look into it more. And she was like, no, I value your opinion. Let me know what you think. So I let her know I would go do my research and come back to her. But I kind of turned into a politician with that one.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else? Eric, anything to contribute or?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of things. I like what David said because, well, first of all, my background, as you can tell, I'm the son of Filipino immigrants. So for us, we were inherently people pleasers, where we wanted to always make people happy. At least that was culturally. And I know we're the product of our environment. So for us, being non-confrontational was pretty much how we were all raised in my household. So the politician mode is something that I'm trying to also work with, to where now at 53, I'm kind of more indifferent to pleasing everyone and more in line with just doing what makes the most sense. The scientific mindset, again, I can only talk because I'm new to Xendurance, but in other businesses and nonprofits, I've been the most successful when I've taken that position of learning from someone else and putting my own ego aside. So Sean, what you're saying resonates for me. I haven't had much experience in being a preacher or a prosecutor, although I've been on the receiving end of that. But for my own behavior, I'd say politician for me is just my nature from my background, but scientific is where I'm working towards to be.
Hey, I'll tell you, and way to bring up a great point. And this is really empowering. Sometimes it's not bad to take on that role in certain situations. David Henry, that pickleball court across from Xendurance, that indoor pickleball court, I don't know what their product was. Sandy and I decided to walk over to our new neighbors who have a pickleball court, and they have sports drinks and stuff. And literally, because I don't know, you guys know, when you get Sandy going, man, he can get going into some conversation. And we walk over, I go, dude, let's just leave here with them thinking we're the nicest people in the world because we're neighbors. So we went in, and boy, did they go just preacher to us. They're just giving us all of the stuff about their, we're just nodding our head. Oh, great. And then we're like, hey, maybe we can help rent out this place. They gave us a bunch of samples, and I was so glad that I just sat there and listened to them go preacher on us, and we didn't say anything because the drink sucked. I mean, the drink was so bad. I'm serious, David. It was awful. I literally dumped it out. It was so overly sweet and just gross. And I'm like, oh my God. I could have totally gotten into, if we were two other people, we got into a major argument about nothing because they're not even in the same level as our thing. Sometimes be a politician, just leave everybody happy. And that's the best thing that you could do. Sometimes you might need to be a little bit of a prosecutor if somebody's overstepping a bound with you. And sometimes you might need to be a little bit of a preacher if somebody doesn't have faith in even what they're doing or what you're doing. And you might want to give a little bit of that passion and that in there. There is no judgment on these. I just want us all to identify when we go into that mode. And then if we can be scientific at the end with no ego, man, can we be powerful? Does that make sense? Okay,
Yeah,
Mike.
Sean, well, so I just want to echo what you were just saying, dude. And I feel like knowing these different attributes of how you get into that mode and just being aware is very important so that you can use them in different situations. Because I was thinking as you were talking about these, it's like, okay, which one am I more dominant in? I tend to be a people pleaser because it's just what I try to do, right? But there's also when talking to people, you got to know when to slip into those other modes. And sometimes the conversation dictates that I need to push this person and I need to tell them, no, this is the best stuff because you're not listening, right? And they need that. And then the conversation comes out on the other end very well because by just knowing that fine line of how you walk and when to use the different modes, I think is proven for me to be the most successful. But you just got to know and then be able to dial it back when you get too much, bring it back around and slip back into that politician of like, okay, let's leave this conversation happy. And I think that's what really kind of works best for me anyways.
And that's, Mike, I love this conversation. And I'm going to go back into like, look at that. The fact that we're out having conversations, we're putting ourselves out there. The more self-aware we are of our language patterns and of what's going on in our heart, in our mind, in our ego. You know, there was a great quote that said, and I'm going to probably screw it up now, that a fool's heart is in his mouth while a wise man's mouth is in his heart. And if you can control your language, you become so much more empowering. Like I'm amazed when I got to go back to Sandy. Guys, when you get on calls, everyone's been on calls with Sandy. Sandy's a really, really good sales guy, but he has his own methodical long process. And I'm just like chomping at the bit to try to like get things, you know, and I just have to sit back and go, all right, here we go. We're on the Sandy ride. Let's just let it go, you know? And then next, you know, he just closes the person. I'm like, oh my God, man, how does he do that? Like, that's so good. Pay attention to what other people do. You know, I'm always amazed when you find people that are really, really good at what they do. I was at the tennis club the other day and there's this good lady that is so cool and she can say no without being offensive. Like, it's the weirdest thing. I'm a people pleaser. Well, yeah, maybe I could do that. Yeah, probably I could do that. And every time, if she's not going to, no, that won't work for me because there's something else that I do that's really important, but thank you. You know, you're like, God, why don't I say that more? I know that sounds simple, but I'm that guy that leaves the door open too much. Well, let me maybe see, maybe I might be able to make that match or else maybe we could push it back when I know I really should probably just say, you know what, I don't think it's going to work. You know, when people are really talented with their language and are very targeted with it and they are very creative, it's amazing to me how powerful we all can become. And if we realize that sometimes, Mike, to your point, there's nothing wrong with being a little preachy, being preachy about it when you believe in something. There's nothing wrong with being a prosecutor when you feel that maybe there's something that has to be said. There's nothing wrong with being a politician, making everyone feel, you know, good. And then if we could be scientific though, and continually watch and pay attention to when we start to go down one path, maybe too much, then we autocorrect, that could be really powerful. Drew, do you got anything to add?
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know, First Form's headquarters is in St. Louis. It's probably like 45 minutes away from my house. And so I've been 1, 2, and 3, probably more prosecutor than when I should be. And here's how many sales it's helped me with. 0. And when I learned to be more scientific, like this past weekend, I did a sampling at a gym of the Fuel 5 and protein and getting the conversation, ask people what they take. They usually say like level 1, which is first forms post workout, or I don't know. And I've gotten really good at just kind of shaking my head. And they ask me, well, how does your protein compare to them? Well, I've learned to never say anything negative about anyone else's product, and really just kind of talk about how I think we're different and we're better.
That's awesome. And and you just did something, Drew, that is another great lesson. And we were talking about body language a couple of weeks ago and all of those things. We got to be so careful that not just what we say, but how we look. You could go into preacher mode, prosecutor mode, politician mode. If somebody's saying to you something about another protein and your arms closed like this, they're like, this guy's just not even caring. If you're kind of open to the conversation, oh, okay, great. If you're using your hand, hey, thank you for letting me know. That was really interesting. I didn't know that you're being engaged. We got to be careful. Our body language does a lot. If your hands are behind, they don't trust you. What's Drew doing with his hands behind? I'm trying to tell him about first form protein. These guys, what's he doing? You got to be so careful with your body language also. We exude attitude when we're in conversations, and a lot of times we don't even know it. So be very cognizant of what your hands are doing, what your body language looks like, even if you're on a Zoom. If somebody's leaning back on a Zoom, and doing this, oh, that sounds good. Hey, great. I love that. Oh, maybe we'll try that. Or if they're leaning forward, hey, that sounds good. Great. Let's try that. Simple little things. Let people know you're engaged in the conversation and that you're ready to rock and roll. Crystal, any other ahas from today's call?
No, but that was really helpful. Thank you.
Cool. Guys, I want you to think, we got 2 minutes left. I want us to be thinking about, and we're going to be getting the whole tutorial of XND 63 typed up next week. Daniel and I are going to be even working on it this week. We'll probably bring you in also to get some things going, Mike. We're just going to have the outline of how to sell it, and we're going to have it typed up into a sheet so that everybody can have it. We're going to start role playing, even without the sheet, on getting into conversations with people. Guys, we do not need to be robots about XND 63. We want to go through the grow model. We're going to work on the grow model again on Wednesday. And I hope, Drew, you just got me so fired up last week when you said that you started using that model. If we could really focus in on that, I literally, and Mike and I have talked about this, and Daniel's heard me talk about this, we need to be thinking big with XND 63. So I want your goal for XND 63 to make you a little nervous. Like, how could I get 40 people into that program? Not how can I get that in? If I do the following things, I will have 40 people in the program. Do all of them have to be buying a repeat pack? Can some be free members? That's fine. I don't mind that. But you got to get into so many conversations. If you get into enough conversations to get 40 people into XND 63, say hello to Cabo San Lucas, ladies and gentlemen, because you're going to be going down there. And Drew and I were just talking about it. We're getting excited. It's a little rainy here in San Diego. So I threw up this backdrop because I'm really good with visual and things like that. I'll bust my buns to get my feet down in the sand. I don't know about you guys, but that's where everyone on the screen is going to be. Daniel, I wish we could bring you over here, buddy, but we'll have to figure that out. Guys, it is the bottom of the hour. Let's jump into our week. How we started was gratitude. I have gratitude for you guys. I want you to have gratitude for yourselves. I want you to keep the ego in check and pay attention to how you communicate to people. At the end of the day, we have the ability to influence people's lives with the real positive things. We're not selling kid tobacco. We're selling health and wellness products, guys. Let's get out there and make some things happen. Reach out to me if you need anything. Eric, I got a couple of back-to-back appointments, and then I will give you a call when I have some windshield time. Okay, Eric?
No worries. Thank you, Sean.
All right.
Good to see you.
Guys, appreciate you. Thanks, Mike. We'll talk to you soon.